The salt spray of the Aegean Sea stings the eyes of an old man sitting upon the jagged rocks of Patmos. He is a relic of a bygone era, the final flickering ember of a fire that once walked the shores of Galilee. They called him Boanerges, a son of thunder. But the world would come to know him by a different name, the Beloved. This is the story of John, the fisherman who outlived empires, the witness who saw the heart of God, and the last man standing to tell the tale of love itself. Before the letters about light and love, there was the thunder. John, son of Zebedee, was not born a mystic. He was born a storm. Along with his brother James, he was a man of visceral passion and unbridled ambition. We see it in their early days, a raw, competitive zeal that once prompted them to ask Jesus for the seats of highest honor in the coming kingdom. They were the sons of thunder, a title given by Christ that likely reflected their volatile temperaments. Imagine the scene. A Samaritan village rejects Jesus, and John's immediate instinct isn't a prayer for peace, but a demand for fire from heaven to consume them. He was a man of extremes, fiercely loyal, yet dangerously narrow in his understanding of power. But in the hands of the Master, that lightning was about to be harnessed into a different kind of energy. The journey from the Galilee docks to the heights of spiritual revelation began with a simple, disruptive call: "Follow me." Little did the young fisherman know that following would mean watching his world and his very nature be dismantled and rebuilt. Among the 12, there was an inner ring: Peter, James, and John. They were the ones permitted to witness the moments the others could not. They were there when a young girl was raised from the dead in a private room. They were there on the Mount of Transfiguration when the veil of humanity was pulled back and Jesus shone with the blinding brilliance of eternity. But John's experience was uniquely intimate. In his own gospel, he refers to himself not by name but as the disciple whom Jesus loved. To some it sounds like pride, but to John it was his entire identity. At the Last Supper, as a heavy darkness settled over the group, John was the one leaning back against Jesus' chest, close enough to hear the literal heartbeat of the Creator. It is this proximity that transformed him. You cannot stay the same when you are pressed against the source of all compassion. The thunder began to soften into a resonance of deep, abiding affection. He was learning that the greatest power in the universe wasn't the fire that consumes enemies, but the love that lays down its life for friends. When the shadows of Gethsemane fell and the swords were drawn, the brave men scattered. Even Peter, the rock, crumbled in the courtyard. But as we look toward the hill of Golgotha, amidst the mocking Roman guards and the weeping women, we find a solitary male figure standing at the foot of the cross. It was John. The youngest of the apostles was the only one with the courage to watch his king die. In the agony of the crucifixion, Jesus looks down at the two people he loves most on earth, his mother Mary and his best friend John. In a final legal act of love, he binds them together. "Woman, behold your son," and to John, "Behold your mother." From that hour, John took her into his own home. He didn't just witness the theology of the atonement. He felt the blood drip onto the dust. He saw the spear pierce the side. He saw the water and the blood. While the others heard the news from the women on Sunday morning, John was the one who outran Peter to the empty tomb. He saw and he believed. The memory of that empty linen would sustain him for the next 70 years. History tells us a brutal story of the early church. One by one, the pillars fell. James, John's own brother, was the first to be martyred by the sword. Peter was crucified upside down in Rome. Paul was beheaded. Andrew, Thomas, Philip, all gone. By the end of the first century, the apostolic voices had been silenced by the Roman blade and the executioner's cross, all except one. John became a living monument, the final link to the physical person of Jesus. Legend tells us that the Emperor Domitian tried to kill him too, placing him in a vat of boiling oil before the gates of Rome. But the fire would not take him. Whether by miracle or by the strange providence of age, John survived. He was exiled to the desolate rocky island of Patmos. Can you imagine the solitude? The ghosts of his brothers must have walked those shores with him. He was a man who had seen the beginning of the movement, and now he was the only one left to guard its ending. But in that isolation, the heavens opened. The thunder returned, but this time it was the voice of the Alpha and the Omega, commanding him to write what he saw. When John finally sat down to write his account of Jesus, he didn't follow the blueprints of Matthew, Mark, or Luke. He wrote from the perspective of an old man who had spent decades meditating on the why behind the what. His gospel is a cosmic poem. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. He doesn't start with a manger. He starts with eternity. His letters, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, read like the gentle counsel of a grandfather. He repeats a single theme with an almost obsessive rhythm. Little children, love one another. Tradition says that in his final days at Ephesus, he was so frail he had to be carried into the assembly. When asked why he always said the same thing, he simply replied, "Because it is the Lord's command, and if this only is done, it is enough." The Son of Thunder had become the apostle of love. He had realized that everything else, the miracles, the prophecies, the knowledge, was secondary to the simple, terrifying, beautiful reality that God is love. John's life ended not with a bang, but with a peaceful departure into the arms of the one he had outlived everyone for. He died in Ephesus around 100 AD, the only apostle to die of old age. He left behind a legacy that bridged the gap between the physical walking of the earth with Christ and the spiritual life of the church for millennia to come. He taught us that love is not a feeling, but a person. He taught us that light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. Because he stood his ground when all others had fallen, we have a window into the very soul of the Messiah. He was the man who saw it all. The water turned to wine, the blood turned to life, and the King returning in glory. He was the last man standing, and his voice still echoes through the halls of history, whispering that we are, each of us, invited to be the disciple whom Jesus loved. The life of John reminds us that the greatest transformation isn't found in our strength, but in our proximity to the truth. He began as a storm and ended as a sanctuary. If you found this journey through the life of the beloved apostle meaningful, we invite you to join our community. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share this story with someone who needs to hear that they are loved. Your support allows us to continue bringing these timeless stories to life with the cinematic depth they deserve. Until next time, walk in the light as He is in the light. Thank you for watching.